Hello. So these are two books of poems that I picked up a little while ago. I think I've got the receipt in here. Yep, from the Oxfam shop. And I believe I paid £2 each for them. So, as you can tell, they're relatively old, possibly not the oldest. In fact, yeah, I'm sure they're not the oldest books that we've looked at on this channel. But they are still quite old. And what I quite like about these books, I like books that are well kept, but these books here, if you look at the edges, you can see how tatty they look. Now, that isn't because these books have been mistreated. This is entirely down to the way that they're produced. So at certain points in history, books have been made, rather than cutting with a blade the pages, they're made by paper that's folded. So you get big sheets of paper and they're folded, printed, and then it's folded and folded and folded. Then it's stitched in. I don't know if we can see the stitching in this one. Sometimes you can. But it gets stitched into the binding. I'm not sure if you can make it out. But yeah, so it's stitched into the binding. And then someone gets a knife, and rather than it being cut sort of down the edges to release the pages from one another, they instead insert a knife between the pages and cut like that. And so this creates this slightly more tattered edge where the blade's dragged through the paper rather than where it's sliced off. And you can see where the paper hasn't been folded quite as far on some of these pages. So like there we've got these two pages that are slightly shorter than the others. Then we'll probably find a bit further through, yeah, like there, that's probably the other side of the folded papers there. So that's why this book looks a bit tatty around the edges. So enough about how books are made, I think. First off, let's have a look at The Island Race. So this book has previously been sold for $1.95. It's got a name in there, G.A. Davies. There's a title page, The Island Race. And we have The Island Race by Harry Newbolt, London, Elkin, Matthews, Vigo Street, 1901. Okay, so that's 1901. That book was published. First edition, October 21, 1898. Second edition, November 15, 1898. It's very specific dates. Third edition, February 3rd, 1899. And fourth edition, 1901. Copyright in America, all rights reserved. To Robert Bridges. Of the 40 pieces in this volume, 12 were published in 1897, under the title Admiral's Oar. Of the remaining 28, many have appeared in the periodicals enumerated below. None were written earlier than Admiral's Oar. The thanks of the author for permission to reprint are due to the editors of Lungman's Magazine, The Spectator, The Daily Chronicle, the St James's Gazette, the Saturday Review, the Pall Mall Magazine, the Windsor Magazine, the Pall Mall Gazette, the Speaker, the Outlook, and the Athenaeum. So I'm not going to go through all the titles that we've got, but here's our contents page, or pages, should I say. This is quite a few for us to go through. And then at the very back, we've got some little adverts, I think. And I presume these are all adverts for different texts that can be purchased by Vigo Street, London, published. Yeah, list of books in Bell's letters. Here we go. List of books published by Elkin Matthews. Most of the books in this catalogue are published at net prices. London, Vigo Street, 1901-2. So that was something, I think that carried on for quite a while, that you'd advertise other publications in the backs of books, and you could then order your books sort of from the publisher like that. Anyway, the second book we've got is Edna St. Vincent Millay, The Book in the Snow and Other Poems. London, Harper and Brothers, 35 Great Russell Street, 1928. And this one, when I purchased it, it got this little cover on, so it looks almost as if it's previously been a library book. You've got the nice bright blue underneath. There we go. The Book in the Snow. Thomas Hardy said that one of the only two great things in America was the poetry of Edna St. Vincent Millay. The Book in the Snow is Miss Millay's first book of poems in 5 years. The Book in the Snow and Other Poems. Other books by Edna St. Vincent Millay: The Lamp and the Bell, 2nd April, 3 plays, Renaissance, A Few Figs from Thistles, The Harp Weaver, Ario de Capo, The King's Henchman. Edna St. Vincent Millay, The Book in the Snow and Other Poems. London, Harper and Brothers, 35 Great Russell Street, 1928. Printed in England at the Cohen Press, Plaistow. And this book's split into several parts. I think it's 4 parts in all. Part 1, Part 2, Part 3 and Part 4. So I'm going to start looking at these over the next month or two. As you can see, there's quite a few poems in each one. They're not, strictly speaking, children's books. In fact, I'm pretty certain they're definitely not children's books. But I'm going to read them anyway, and I'm pretty certain that if you've got any interest in old books, some poems be a nice change from stories and educational. So hopefully you'll enjoy those. We'll work through those gradually, mixing it in with the other children's books that we're still looking at and that I've got to look at soon. So I'll see you all soon, and bye.